Hey, you.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. What the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm playing some Yu-Gi-Oh!
Not anymore. Don't you want to play a real man's card game?
Like Pokemon?
No,
Dragon Ball Super.
definitely not. Get that out of here.
I also have the Austin Powers collectible card game.
What? Where'd you even get these?
My name is on.
No, I'm talking about this new game that's sweeping the globe. Digimon.
You mean the Pokemon ripoff?
So do you want to learn how to play in that?
I guess so. So, where are we going?
To my apartment.
You're not gonna make me do like weird sex stuff, are you?
There's no time for questions.
It kind of seems like there is, though. Hey man, it's kind of dark in here. Do you think we could turn on a light or something? What does this mean?
Hello guys, Levi here from the Digi Bros. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to play Digimon in 2020. First and foremost, the most important thing with any card game is how do you win. To win in Digimon, all you have to do is take one of your Digimon and attack your opponent directly. Seems simple enough, but there are some things standing in the way. They're called security cards, and there are 5 of them. Security cards act as shields to protect your opponent from being attacked directly. So your goal is to attack to all 5 of your opponent's security and then attack them directly before your opponent does that to you. So there are 4 main types of cards in Digimon. You have your Digitama, your Digimon, your option cards, and your tamers. But before I get into the specifics of what each type of card does, I want to talk about the anatomy of the playing field. This here is what a standard Digimon mat looks like. And as you can see, we have a couple different sections. So I'm going to break down what each section is, tell you what it does. Starting at the top, we have our deck. Pretty self-explanatory, this is where your deck goes. Decks are 50 cards in Digimon, no more, no less. Moving on down, we have our trash. This is like the graveyard in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or also the trash in Pokemon. It's basically once you activate a card, or when a Digimon is destroyed, they go here to the trash. Moving on to the main part of the mat, you have your battle area. This is the main section where you'll be doing most of your playing during a game of Digimon. You can attack from here, you can activate option cards here, you can activate tamers from here, you can evolve up from here, even though there is another place you can evolve, which I'll get to. But this is where you're doing most of your playing in a Digimon game. Moving on to the left, we have our security. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this is where our protection cards will go, and there are 5 slots because there are 5 security cards. At the very beginning of the game, before you even draw your hand, you will take the top 5 cards of your deck and put them over here. And it's your opponent's goal to attack through them and then attack you directly in order to win. Moving on down below the security, we have our raising area. This is where our Digitama will go. That will make more sense later when I go into what they are and what they do. But the raising area is not considered a part of the battle area, and effects of a Digimon when they evolve do not activate when they're in the raising area. But we'll get into that more later when we talk more about Digitama and Digimon's evolve effects. Though this mat in particular does have a separate section for tamer and options, this is the same as the battle area. They are not 2 separate areas. You can activate tamers and options wherever you want, but most of the time we have them in the back and our Digimon up front. If you look in the middle of our mat here, you'll notice this number system we have here. This is called a memory gauge in Digimon. There's a 0 in the middle and 1 through 10 on each side. You can say this side is facing us, so that is our memory gauge. And this side is facing your opponent, so that is theirs. Every card in Digimon has a cost. For example, this Agumon right here. If you look in the top left corner, he costs 3 to play from your hand. So if you want to play him, you'll put him on the field, and since he costs 3, you'll move it 3 to the right. Now, since it is past 0, it is now your opponent's turn. So now at the beginning of their turn, they will start, and they will have 3 memory to work with for their turn. But once they pass 0, it becomes your turn. So during their turn, if they wanted to play an Agumon, they would play him, and then they would move it 3 to the right. They're at 0. Keep in mind, they haven't passed 0 yet, so it is still their turn. So if they wanted to play another Digimon like this Greymon here, which costs 5 to play, they would play him from their hand, and since he costs 5, they will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now, since it has passed 0, it is your turn again, and so on and so forth. So now you have 5 memory to work with. I really like this system because it keeps you from overextending and doing a whole lot without giving your opponent a lot of advantage. So the more you do, the more memory you give your opponent. So the goal of the game is to do as much as you can for as little memory as possible.
In the Digimon card game, there are 4 different types of cards. There are Digitama, Digimon, Tamers, and option cards. So these are, at the moment, the only 4 types of cards we have in the game. We have our Digitamas right here, and at the top it says Digitama compared to some of the others that say like Digimon at the top up here. And you will notice that the backs of them are also different. So these are going to be white compared to the blue backgrounds to signify that they are different. They don't go in the main deck, they go in a different stack. So with the Digitamas, they are in the raising area. You can have 5 Digitama in your raising area at any given time. A playset is 4 of those, so you can have only 4 of certain one, like Koromon here, you can only have 4 of, maybe like 1 of another one. But if you see on the bottom down here is actually level 2. And that's important. In Digimon, we have level 2 all the way up to level 7. And Digitama, they don't have a cost, so you don't see a cost at the top of them. So during the breeding phase, you can start by hatching your Digitama. So they'll be flipped over, you flip them, and so you hatched one. So now you can evolve level 3s on top of it. To evolve in Digimon, it's a lot like Pokemon where you place it on top of the card. But you see how Agumon here is a level 3, and the Koromon, the Digitama, is level 2. So you can evolve Digimon that is 1 level higher and for the most part of the same color. You see the second circle down here, this is the evolve cost. So you see for Agumon it is 0, and if you pay attention to the color, it's red. So if you're evolving over a red, which you can only evolve over, it costs 0. So your memory gauge up top, you do not have to move it any. So cool thing about Digimon, whenever you evolve, you get to draw a card. So every time you evolve, like I just evolved Agumon, I draw a card. So it's really cool. And so moving on, we have our level 4s, right? So same thing, you check the circle, he's going to be red, this Greymon right here, so he can evolve over a level 3 red. So, but his is 2. And you see how the evolution cost is always going to be cheaper than the when played cost. As Levi mentioned, if I play this Greymon from my hand, it will cost me 5 memory. But if I like evolve him from my hand on top of a level 3, it only costs 2 memory. So instead of it being 5, it's going to be 2. And so he mentioned it's better to leave your opponent with less memory. One of the ways to do that is by evolving. And so level 4, we also have our level 5s right here. Same thing. See that red on this evolution circle? And he costs 3. So this metal Greymon would cost 3 to evolve, right? So go from 2 up to 5. As he mentioned, it passed 0, so our turn would be over when we evolve the Greymon. But this is just an example showing you how much it costs to evolve. Level 6s. This is like the boss monster of most decks right here. This War Greymon right here. Once again, he's going to be 4 to evolve, 12 to pay from him. So if you evolve him, he already costs 4, right? So earlier, I showed this on the moment whenever I did the sample drawing card for the Agumon effect. So at the moment, level 7 is the current highest level in Digimon right now. In the future, we might get like level 8s or higher, but right now it's just up to level 7. And so same thing. Actually, the cool thing about him, you see how he has the red and the blue circle, where all the other ones just had the 1 circle of the red. Omnimon right here, and certain other Digimon, they can evolve from different colors, right? So you can evolve from red or blue. It's the same thing, you just like evolve on top of your stack, right? By paying however much it is. For him, it's gonna be 6. And that's how you evolve in Digimon. Like I said earlier, every time you evolve, you draw a card. So yeah, that's how you evolve in Digimon. So that's for the Digimon themselves and the Digitama. And there's gonna be 2 other types of cards in Digimon. We have Tamers right here. Think of them as like continuous spells in like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or like field spells in Yu-Gi-Oh! Once you play them, they stay on the field. At the current moment, there's no way to get rid of Tamers. Maybe in the future we'll get them. But like he has a pay cost of 2, so you'll pay 2 for him. And once you put him on the field, he stays there forever. Last card we have are option cards right here. You see they have a blue border. Now they look different than all the other cards from the Digimon and the Tamers, how they have white borders, the options have the blue ones. And so these are like your spells in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're like your instants and magic. These are the ones who you use them once and then they're done for. So example, Gaia Force here, cost 8. It's a really expensive card, but it's also a really good card. Gaia Force says destroy one of your opponent's Digimon. And if you see at the bottom down here, it has another effect. That little lock right there, that means it's in the security. So we'll be going over security some more in a bit, but in your security stack, whenever this gets revealed, you activate its security effect. Not all option cards have security effect. Most of them do, and even some Digimon have security effects. Like I said, we'll go over that more later. So yeah, so these are the different types of cards. We have your option cards. Like I said, you use them once and then they're done. You have your Tamers, you use them and they stay on the field. They have a continuous effect. Like Tai right here says gives your Digimon 1,000 during your turn. A lot of them do continuous stuff like that. And then your different Digimons, your Digitama, all the way up to your level 7. Yeah. So these are your different types of cards that you have in Digimon.
All right, guys, moving on to the next section, and arguably the most important section. How do you actually play the game? During your turn in a game of Digimon, there are a few different phases. Every card game has their phases. In Yu-Gi-Oh! There's the draw phase, standby, main phase 1, battle phase, main phase 2, end phase. But in the Digimon card game, you have 4 phases. You have your active, draw, raising, and main phase. It's important to know that there is no battle phase. You can attack at any point during the main phase, and it does not end your turn like in Pokemon. All right, so here we are at the very beginning of a game of Digimon. You have your main deck, which consists of 50 cards, like I said before, and then your Digitama deck, which consists of 5 Digitamas. So you're going to take your Digitamas, put them over here in the Digitama area, in the raising area. You're going to take your deck and shuffle it. In most card games, once you shuffle your deck, you give it to your opponent to shuffle. And it's important to note that you do it with both your Digitama and your main deck. So once they're all shuffled up, they give you back your deck. You'll put your deck in your deck area, and you put your Digitama in your raising area. I believe the official rulebook says you do a game of rock, paper, scissors to see who wins, but you can also roll a die or do whatever you want to do or to determine who wins. Important to note that in the Digimon card game, if you do win a dice roll or rock, paper, scissors, you must go first. So let's just say we won the die roll and we're beginning our turn. At the very start, before we draw our hand, we're going to take the top 5 cards of our deck, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to put them in our security area. Like I said before, this is going to be our protection during the game to keep our opponent from attacking us directly. So they have to go through all 5 security in order to attack us directly and win the game. And we must do the same thing for our opponent. And after you have your 5 security over there in your security area, you will draw your hand, which is 5 cards. It's important to note that the person who goes first, the very first turn in the game, you do not draw. Now that the draw phase is over with, we enter the raising phase. The raising phase, there are 2 things that could happen. You can either take a Digitama that has not yet been hatched and hatch it, or if you have a level 3 or higher Digimon that you evolved over the hatched Digitama last turn, you can move that up into the battle area. I did mention earlier, but it is important to note that the raising area is not considered part of the battle area. So effects do not activate while they're back here, whether that be on-field effects or evolve effects. They do not activate in the raising area. But once you get up into the battle area, they do. Another cool thing, because the raising area is not considered part of the field, your opponent cannot target Digimon in the raising area for attacks, and they cannot target them with card effects. Like the Gaia Force before mentioned that destroys one of your opponent's Digimon, they cannot destroy your Digimon in the raising area. They have to wait until it comes out into the battle area. All right, moving on into the main phase. Once you've either hatched your Digitama or moved your Digimon from the raising area into the battle area, you begin your main phase. Your main phase is where you activate all your cards, play all your Digimon, and try your best to do as much as you can before passing 0 memory. It's important to note that Digimon, if you play him from your hand, like this Vengence right here, you'll look, he costs 4 to play from your hand. If you play him from your hand for 4, say your turn doesn't end after that, say you had 4 memory to begin with, you're now at 0. He now has summoning sickness from being played this turn, so he cannot attack your opponent or their Digimon this turn. You have to wait until next turn. But if your Digimon was in the raising area and during the raising phase was brought up into the field, he can now attack this turn. If you play a Digimon on the field, even if you evolve on top of him, it still counts as the same Digimon, so you cannot attack with that Digimon, even if you evolve on top of it. When it comes to option cards, which as mentioned before, are kind of like spell cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! You'll activate them, you'll look at their cost, and you'll pay that one. This one costs 0 to play, so you don't have to pay anything. Once you play it, it goes to the trash. But another thing with option cards that we haven't mentioned yet is you have to look at the color of the option card. This one's green, you can tell by the border down here. It's green, and in order to activate this, you have to either have a green Digimon on the field, and it does count Digitama, so either a green Digimon on the field, Digitama, or a green Tamer. If you do not have those, you cannot activate an option card of that color, which means I cannot activate this Gaia Force right here, because if you look, it is red, and all I have is green cards in it, so I cannot activate an option card if I don't already have another color of that same card on the field. There are such things as multicolored decks, so if you're playing a green-red variant, you still are not able to play Gaia Force unless you have a red Digimon on the field or a red Tamer. A lot of people will play red Digitamas and then run Gaia Force. That way they'll always have the red Digitama over there and you can just play red option cards from your hand without worrying. Moving into battle, remember there is no battle phase. You can attack at any point during the main phase and it does not end your turn. Okay, when attacking, you rest or suspend your Digimon, and you can either attack one of your opponent's rested or suspended Digimon, or you can attack their security. When you attack their security, you perform what's called a security check. So say your opponent has this Digimon, and they attack you. He has 6,000 attack, and we will perform a security check on the security, which means you take the top card, and you reveal it. And you'll take this card, if it's a Digimon, and you'll check the attack. Since he is 6,000, he is 7,000, the Vegemon will lose the battle and go to the trash. But it's important to note that no matter what the attack of the opponent's Digimon is, if you attack it in security, the security Digimon always dies. But let's say you attack and you don't hit a Digimon in security. Let's say you hit an option or a Tamer. That's when you activate this effect down here. This is called a security effect. This is an effect that activates if it's hit in the security. Generally speaking, Tamers and option cards are the only ones with security effect, even though now there are some Digimons that have effects that activate when destroyed in security. And some option cards don't even have an effect, so it's important to read the bottom of the card and see what it does. Like Gaia Force's effect is, whenever you attack it in security, it activates its main effect, which means you can destroy one of your opponent's Digimon. So if you attack into their security, and they reveal Gaia Force can now activate its effect to destroy one of your Digimon. And another cool thing is, if you hit an option or a Tamer, their effects activate, and they don't even have to pay the cost. So if you attack into a Gaia Force, they don't have to pay the 8 in order to destroy your Digimon, because they hit it in security. Cards in security activate for free. You don't have to pay their effects. Another cool thing, when you hit an option card in security, you don't have to meet the color requirement. So if you hit Gaia Force in my security, I can still activate it even though I don't have a red card on the field. When attacking an opponent's Digimon, remember you can only attack them if they're rested, if they're in this sideways position right here. If they're straight up like this one, you cannot attack them. So when attacking, remember there's two things you can do. You can either attack your opponent's rested Digimon, or you can attack your opponent's security. And it's your goal to get through all 5 of their security. And then once you do that, you can then attack them directly and you win the game.
What's up guys, it's Noah again. I just wanted to show off some more Digimon that have some like keywords that are very important, and just wanted to showcase some like different types of like Digimon cards and stuff. So for example, right here, these are going to be your like vanilla Digimon. They have no effects on them. So Digimon can have 2 effects on them. They can have the Digimon's effect and then their ESS, which is their evolution source skill. We haven't really gone too much into that, but we're gonna get into it right now. Like example, this Gomamon right here, he doesn't have a main effect, but he has an evolution source skill, right? Or this Palmon right here has a when played effect and not an evolution source skill. And then you can have Digimon that have both. So these are like your 4 different like kinds of like Digimon. You'll have either one with no effect, one with ESS, one with its own effect, or one that has both. So these are the different kind of like Digimons that have them. So Palmon right here has a when played effect. So you get Palmon's effect when you play it from your hand for the 3 memory. You get her when played effect, which is reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and a level 4 Digimon amongst them to your hand. So you do not get that effect when evolving. So if you evolved Palmon, you will not get that effect because it's a when played effect. An example of a when evolved effect is Togemon here. Togemon says when evolved, similar to Palmon, you reveal the top 3 cards and add a level 5 or higher Digimon. So you only get that effect when you evolve it. You do not get that effect if you were to play it from your hand straight up. So that's an example of a when played effect and a when evolved effect. We have other like keywords. Tyrannomon here has jamming. Jamming says if you attack your opponent's security, then if the Digimon has an equal DP attack or higher, then it is not destroyed, where he usually would be if it was another Digimon. Moving on, we have blockers. So blockers is kind of added protection outside of your security. So when you have to attack through your opponent's security and then attack them directly, blockers, if they're active, they can make themselves suspended or rested to intercept one of your opponent's attacks. So if your opponent's trying to attack your security or one of your other rested Digimon, you can block it to make your opponent's Digimon attack this Digimon instead. Another one we have right here, this is Vengeance or Companion Retaliation. I believe Retaliation is the official English one. So the way Retaliation works is if this Digimon attacks an opponent's rested Digimon, if this one's destroyed, then it destroys the Digimon that destroyed it as well. Hercules Kabuterimon, he has a skill called Piercing. So the way Piercing works is if you attack over your opponent's Digimon, you still perform a security check. So if I use Hercules Kabuterimon to attack over my opponent's rested Digimon and destroy it by battle, I still then perform a security check. War Greymon here has an effect called Reboot. And so during your active phase, at the start of your turn, if your Digimon's rested, you make them active, which I believe this is the first time we mentioned active phase. So during a game, if you rest your Digimon to attack, during the start of your turn's active phase, you make your Digimon active. A Digimon with reboot, such as War Greymon here, during your opponent's active phase, he can become active himself. Seraphimon right here has an effect. When evolved, you get recovery +1. And we're mentioning the security stack and how you start with 5. A lot of yellow cards specifically give you recovery, which means you take the top card of your deck and you add it to your security stack. So even though you start with 5, you can potentially get a lot more with decks like yellow. Some other decks have some recovery, but you get recovery +1 and stuff like that. Gobumon right here, his keyword is draw. He says when played, you draw a card. So you draw whenever you evolve your Digimon. Then some other cards let you draw cards like Gobumon here. Another one that's kind of newer. Green has this one called Digisorption or Download, where you rest one of your own Digimon and then you can evolve whichever Digimon has the keyword download atop of it for a reduced cost. And another one we're going to go over, Omnimon here, he has a when attacking effect. You can return a level 6 that's under him to the hand to make himself active. So that's a when attacking effect versus the Hercules Kabuterimon, who we talked about earlier, whose effect said after attacking, you pay 3 to make him active. This is a when attacking, you return a level 6 to make him active. So these are some different like card types, some different keywords that Digimon has that are good to know, and different types of Digimon in general.
So, do you think you know how to play Digimon now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I got the hang of it. Oh, it's so bright, man. Chill, what? I don't even have a deck, bro.
I'd look down if I were you.
When did this get here?
I'll make you a deal. We're going to play a game, and if you win, I'll give you a ride back to the park. But if you lose,